questions. All right, everyone, and thanks for joining another Juice Technologies tutorial office hours where we're going to be going over today new features for JuicedSign. So we don't have a slide to present to you guys today, but there's a couple things we want to show you guys that are going to be included in JuicedSign 6.0. So in 6.0, we're now going to be able to security codes, which are a big one. We're going to be demonstrating that today. We have some new options with recipient tags in regards to tag labels. And also some minor patches to tab orders. And then we also have the ability now to pull documents from Amazon S3, Dropbox, and a Quickbase repository table to use as your original file to send out via JuicedSign, and then also to save the signed copy of the JuicedSign document to one of those repositories as well. So that does add some new fields to JuicedSign, so to your master table. So there's a few things we're going to go over. We're going to first start going into the Juice Cloud and potentially doing an update to JuicedSign. So to get the latest 6.0 features. Now, I'm going to quickly call upon Manal. I believe you might be here, or maybe Dylan. Is the new cloud released yet, or the new wizard released yet? Do we have a date on that?
I don't believe we have a date on that. It should be
Okay.
within a week or so.
Okay. So for those of you who are watching this currently live, you cannot do the update for this just yet. But for those of you who are watching this probably after November, let's call it 10th or so, 2024, please feel free to go into the cloud and follow the steps I'm going to show you now to upgrade to the latest version of JuicedSign. That's going to add a bunch of fields for you to be managing these. So let's just go ahead and pull up the cloud really quick, just so that you guys can all see that. And I'm just going to log into my personal. So just give me a moment here. And I'm just going to show you guys how to update, because we have gone through it in a couple videos, but maybe some of you have not done it. So I'm just going to go to my personal builder account here. This is our Juice Cloud. You can see this is my own builder account here. And I have the JuicedSign tile open, and you can see it's orange. It's special, as I was just mentioning, so you can't miss it. So now you may want to go in and maybe potentially hit authorize new application. This is how we're going to get the ability to upgrade. So I can go down and maybe pick a user token, see if we have an application here, contract management for office hours. And then you see right here, we have these authorize only, no setup, and upgrade setup. So for this, you guys are going to want to hit upgrade setup for existing JuicedSign customers. So I'm speaking to you. If you currently subscribe to JuicedSign, you are going to want to follow those steps. If you do not currently subscribe to JuicedSign, you can just go through and start a trial today, and you'll go through the normal setup and it'll add all the fields needed. This is only for our current clients. So I just wanted to show that. I could hit finish and go through that, but no big deal. For our new clients who are going to be going through this, there are some new steps that were added to the JuicedSign wizard that I want to explain really quickly. So just navigating over to my Teams chat here, where Justin was able to send me a couple of these pictures. We have currently, when you go through the JuicedSign setup, you're able to go into the master table. So you're selecting a table to set up, which, maybe it's customers. And then you select a document template record that you would like to use to send out via JuicedSign. What's going to be happening in the future is this file location step. That's going to be important. So this file location step is either going to have a file from Quickbase or a file from one of the clouds. You can see where it says here, file attachment of file to be signed, versus now when you choose Amazon S3 or Dropbox, it's going to say field with key name or file in cloud. So that's going to be kind of your S3 key. So if you utilize maybe Exact Forms Plus and save it to Amazon S3, or Exact Forms Plus to save it to Dropbox, you're likely going to want to find your S3 key field as the one you're going to be using. So that could be on your master table or on a repository table, which is a little more advanced. And we're going to show you guys both of those options today. Just so you know, we do have all of this laid out on our help site as well. So there's a couple new parameters, and you can see we actually lay out kind of exactly what you need to do in order to pull these documents. So you can see it says using documents from other sources and storing documents in other sources. So I'm not going to expect anyone to go and find these. So I'm going to put these in the chat, as I know there's some of you here who are eagerly waiting to do this. Shout out Don. And I'm going to get you guys started with that. So hopefully you guys can follow along. If you have questions, please feel free to stop me and let me know. But yeah, so this is going to kind of lay out what we're going to be discussing today as far as pulling these documents and storing these documents. As far as security codes, which is something else we'll be going over today, we have that on our help site as well. And some information on resetting the security counter. I'll talk about all of that in a moment. So let's kind of just jump back in, right? So we have our simple contact management application here for office hours. I've used this app a couple times before. This was AI built. But right now we want to look into our documents table, and the document table has document repository, right? We just made that kind of simple relationship so we can show you guys what's going on here. So I'm going to add a new document record, and this is just going to have a customer being Juice Technologies, myself and my email is the primary contact and primary contact email. Got that through a lookup. And now I have some steps laid out, right? So the first thing you're going to do is maybe you're going to generate your document. But in this scenario, I'm generating the document to Amazon S3 already, right? So this is just going to be a simple quote, a very, common quote. If you guys have worked with us in the past, this should look familiar. So just a regular quote for Exact Forms Plus. And I'm going to go ahead and close that out. So now you may notice that we actually don't have EFP document or EFP date. Now the date probably should still be filled in. So I'm not going to go in and change that now. We don't have document filled in. And the reason why that is because we didn't save the document into Quickbase. We saved it into Amazon S3. So if I go over to this doc portal, what I actually have is I have a relationship to our document repository table. And yeah, I do have our new doc portal tool on there as well. If we have time, I'm going to give you guys a quick sneak preview of that at the end of this video. But you can see that we have our file name, office hours test from the related document, right? This is related document 3. And we should be able to click and view that file where we can view that quote, right? So now that's stored in Amazon S3. That's great. And we want to now utilize that file to send out via JuicedSign. So kind of how are we going to do that? So let's go ahead and look at some new kind of changes to the agreement doc vids and a new field that you guys will have access to now once you do the upgrade or, install JuicedSign, sign document info. So let's just jump into this first one. Now this correlates, this is the agreement doc vids, and this correlates exactly to, let's see, this help site page using documents from other sources, right? And the ones we're going to be using is specifying a document from a Quickbase repository table. I think actually specifying a document from S3 with keys stored in the repository table. So the very last option, that's what we're going to go through first. So let's see. So what we're first doing is we're identifying where it lives. So in this one, we're living in S3. So we're putting in S3, right? So we're going to go back, S3. If you want to specify a specific bucket name that it's coming from an S3, you can do that next if you separate it with a bar. If not, you can just use a colon and choose the repository table DBID where this is coming from. So my next step, I'm choosing, just remember W66. If I open up our document repository table, you can see here up at the top, if you look at my URL, W66, that's my repository table. Then I'm identifying the record ID from the repository table that I would like to use. So what I ended up doing was I made a new field, a summary field called maximum document repository record ID. And the reason why I did this is because you may have multiple related documents to, your master record, and you don't know necessarily what record ID you want to use. So by doing the maximum document record ID, you're pulling back the most recent document you created. So that's what we're doing here. And by doing that, now you know that whatever document you made last, you're going to pull in that record ID. And again, if I go back to the help site, record ID from the record in that table, in that repository table it's referring to. And then it's asking for the S3 key field ID, so FID number. So in this example, it's cloud key, right? So if I look at this, for those of you who don't know, in the URL, you could see field 11 here at the top. Or if you go into settings and fields, you could also see here field 11. So there's cloud key. That's our S3 key in this example. So we're referring to colon field 11. So there we go there, cloud key. So now we have that. And then the very last one, and this should be more kind of relatable to those of you who are using JuicedSign right now. It's the template, the document template record ID number. And that's going to be the actual document template that we're utilizing to send via DocuSign. So if I open up the document templates table, right? Document templates table is where Exact Forms Plus is generating the document from, and it's where you're storing those JuicedSign recipient tags. So if I open up record 4, I just happen to know this is record 4, but that's what we're utilizing, right? So we have our add-on pricing quote here with our JuicedSign recipient tags, and we're going to kind of go through some of those again. That's been covered in other videos, but there's some new features we might want to go through there. And again, so there's 11:4 for that record ID 4, right? So that kind of breaks it down. It's not super difficult. It is a little bit more than normal because in the past, it might have looked just like this, right? In the past, it would have been just 15:4, 15 referring to the file attachment in the master table, right? Input file attachment field, and then the template record ID. So super simple. For those of you who don't need to grab documents from a cloud, none of this is relevant for you then. If you don't need to pull it from Amazon S3 or Dropbox or from a repository table, your agreement doc vids can look just like this still. I just want to make sure I'm noting that for anyone watching this video in the future, you do not need to do this. This is not a required step. This is additional functionality available to you. All right. So I'm not even going to go ahead and save this. Why bother? So that's your agreement doc vids, right? So that's where we're pulling it from. Now, I do want to note it's very similar, but signed document info is a new field that we're identifying where we're storing the signed completed document. So that includes your agreement certificate as well. So let's go ahead and open up this field, right? So this is called signed document info. And let's take a look into that. All right. So again, like we noted before, let's go to the next help site page, storing documents, right? So now we're storing a signed document, not to Dropbox, but storing a signed document to Amazon S3 and the keys in a Quickbase repository. So we're kind of doubled up here. So the first thing we're doing the cloud name, just like we talked about before. And that's going to be just having S3. And then we're pulling the repository table, right? We just spoke about that. So the repository table is still that W66. And we're still using the maximum document record ID, right? The maximum document repository table record ID is where we want to store it into. And then we have 14, and 14 is going to be the new key that we're using. So if we look at field 14, it's a new Amazon S3 key or a Dropbox key, cloud key in general. JuicedSign signed document S3 key for field 14. And that's just a text field where we're going to be able to store that in. And then you may notice for those of you eagle eye, we also put a download signed document formula URL button there where we're utilizing that signed document S3 key to then pull that file in. So we'll show you guys all that in a second. So that's that. And again, you may notice these 2 dots. There are some additional features you can do with those 2 dots. You can separate the certificate of completion as well. Right now, I have them being saved together in one document rather than 2 separate, but you can do that as well. You could also have it separated just to get the signed document in one, certificate in another, and merge document. So you can get all 3. But for now, that should be everything. So I'm going to hit back again. And we can now utilize send to JuicedSign. So realistically, this send to JuicedSign button should have these fields already identified in their parameters, right? Just agreement doc vids and signed document info. So you don't need to make changes behind this button. It's just changes to these 2 fields. So let's hit send to JuicedSign. And in just a moment, you'll see it's going to come up. It's going to say, okay, Matthew telling us this is the first recipient and his email address is this. The order is 1, signer, and it's going to be captive. So I'm going to sign right here in that window, which is great for a mobile device or a tablet. And then John Doe, obviously to my email again, is going to be the second recipient, and he's a signer as well. Now, just as a note, what we're also going to be showing you is the new security codes. And I'm going to go through that in a second while I kind of sign this. So again, I'm just going to agree to the terms and conditions. I'm going to hit start, go ahead and sign the document and save. Now, hey, this is something worth showing. You may see my name gets cut off here. If this is happening, and this is a little tidbit of information here. So if you're watching this video and you're a regular JuicedSign user or you're interested in it, you want to be able to see the whole length of it. So we're going to adjust the width of this document. I see we have a question in the chat. Please reiterate what captive does. So by me choosing a captive recipient, captive equals true, I'm signing the document right within this window here, right? I clicked send to JuicedSign, and now I'm an internal signer most likely, or I'm in person having a client sign. Maybe you own a car dealership and someone's coming in to sign off on purchasing or leasing a new vehicle. You have them in person, and what you could do is you could actually just flip around the tablet and actually have them physically sign right in person there rather than pen and paper. So this is a way where you can do that. And then they also receive a copy to their emails. So this is a great option for that. Or if there's maybe a sales manager or a signing manager sending out this quote, like this example here, and I need to kind of approve that it should be 1351, and I need to approve that before we send it out. I'm signing on behalf of, I'm countersigning this quote before sending it to the client. So that's kind of, rather than having it send to my email, it's kind of saving me that step. It's saving me a little bit of headache and just, really saving time. But by doing that, now I get it finished. I'm going to get congratulations. You're all set. Great. I believe this is one of the screens. Actually, I know for sure this is one of the screens you can customize yourself. So if you have a different landing page that you would like your recipients to go to, that can be updated here. You could do that right within the Juice Cloud as well. So if you have questions on that, please feel free to ask. But we're going to close that out. And what we're going to do is we're just going to quickly review kind of our JuicedSign recipient information, kind of that step 3 here. And you can see that we have kind of some details on the JuicedSign recipients and management. And you can see that it was delivered, opened, and signed at these dates and times. And now the second recipient has received it. But what you guys will see is some new fields here. We have something called access code. Now, access code is something unique. It's new. It's really a security code. So this is how we're going to utilize it. Let's scroll back over to step 2 in JuicedSign, and let's open up this recipient string. So in your recipient string, this is how you typically go through and make who the recipients are. We've gone through this in other videos, but if you have questions on this, happy to go over it. But the first signer, right, because the recipient ID is 1, I'm pulling in the recipient name and then their email, their signing order is 1, their action is signer, access code, or really security code, is blank here. You can see there's 2 dots in a row. And then captive is true. It's either true or false. Now, for the second recipient, which is John Doe, again, my email, recipient 2, signer, and then I added as the access code something I made quickly called customer ID number. And then this is false, so it was sent in an email. Now, customer ID number is just a very simple field, but it can be whatever you like. You don't have to call it customer ID number. It could be called password. But essentially what that is either an alphanumeric value that you are going to provide to the customer so that only they know to sign the document. We got feedback that, okay, the document can be forwarded to anyone. So how do I know who it is that's signing? This is a way to do sort of 2-factor authentication, that the person who's signing it is who they say they are. They have to know that security code as well. Keith, is there anything you want to add to that, or is that well said?
No, that was good. Again, it's just this is another, let's say, feature or something that we've added to help on a HIPAA compliance as well. So it's a secondary authentication is a way to you can force somebody to have to enter in a special code like a password, so that you really know that they're the ones who are signing off because they know that special code. And the good thing is you guys can control that code, so we don't have to have a special code. Like if they know their account number or whatever, you can just put that on the profile on this record, And as long as they know that, when they get the email, like Matt's going to show you, they'll have to enter an access code. So I'll let him continue.
Right. So what I ended up doing was I made a customer ID field. And this customer ID field, if I go to the customers table, which is the parent table to documents, and I just pull up quickly the fields here. I can stop clicking. Customer ID is as simple as it gets. You know, I did 1000 plus record ID. So something really simple just so that we have a security code there. Like Keith said, like we have, client ID number with us. If you know your client ID number with us, that's a great way to do it. If there's a specific password that you guys want to make with your clients, it can be something written out, but there just needs to be some sort of field that's going to identify that on each record that you're going to be utilizing this for. So let's go back in. You could see here, I pulled this down to documents. So we have, 1044 for this document. So when I go and I open up the request for signature, which I did get. So let's see here. I pull it up from my other screen, right? Matthew telling us via JuicedSign, Matthew telling us sent you a document to review. I didn't change the subject line. I didn't change the note from sender. All that's available to change. But when I hit click to review, what it's going to do is it's going to open up this page here, right? So now we have something a little different. Rather than opening up the document right away, it's going to give us something new. So the security code is going to ask me to put something in. And if I put 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to get a note. Note, the code you entered is invalid. Please try again or contact the sender to confirm you have the right code. So if I just did the wrong code, you'll see that it updates and you are running out of tries here. And that's good. And then bam. So now you get maximum number of tries exceeded. So there's a way that actually stops the clients from continuing to go forward with this. So now they don't know what to do, and maybe they contact you. So as the sender, you have a couple different options, and we were kind of showing that before. But in the JuicedSign recipient options, you can go in and actually reset the security code. You might have just heard my computer ding because that was the loudest ding of all time. You could either hit reset security counter, or the sender will also get an email that asks you to please reset the security counter. So if I click on that, it's going to essentially ask me to say, hey, what's the reason why we're resetting it? And maybe I can just say, this is a test, submit, and now it's successful. Their counter's back to 0 and they can try again. And when they go and open up that email again, right, I can put in the correct code, hit enter, and now I'm able to go and sign the document. So kind of a nice way to stop people from, being able to just forward this to anyone. Now I'm just kind of going through and doing a quick, initial. You could see my signature there, and I'll do the John Doe signature and finish. So that kind of completes that whole life cycle of the document there. And again, if I go back to Quickbase and we're on the JuicedSign recipient details, you're going to see that that all reflects and that now both are completed, that it was delivered, opened, and signed. And I guess it would be kind of interesting if we were able to say that the security code was reset. I don't think we have a way to do that now, but that's something maybe we can consider in the future. But that essentially completes the document. And what we're going to notice in just about a minute or so, because it does take a little bit for us to process this, is we're going to notice that the signed document is going to save to Amazon S3 and create a new document repository record, which we can then view there. So it's really saving on Quickbase storage. It's a full, beginning to end solution for you guys to have everything still live in the cloud. And I'm hoping Don is happy because I'm going to call him out and I know he wants this. So I'm going to say, does anyone have any questions off of what we just reviewed so far? I know I kind of just gave you guys a full mouthful in 25 minutes.
The way you built your document ID there looks like even if you're not using a repository table, you need to specify that you're on the master table with its ID.
So that's a good point. What I actually put in here, I do have this EFP S3 key. You don't need to have it on a repository table. So let's see, using documents from specifying a document from Amazon S3, right? So this is the option. If you just want to have it be from your master table, you're able to still identify it there. And I've got a couple emails popping in if you guys can hear those of the completed document. So I'll show you guys that in a second. But you're able to, and I don't believe this is necessarily correct. And Manal, you can jump in there, but this doc fids field, I don't believe is what we're using. We're using the agreement doc fids. So that's an overstep. It's really just this right here. This is what the workflow would be. It would be S3 bucket name. You don't have to identify the repository table now, right? Because there's no repository table needed. And then there's this the template like you normally would. So really what you're replacing, if I go back, is in here, you just take this out, right? And then you just have the current record ID. No, you don't even need the current record ID. It's just S3, the bucket name, and then the key. So the key field in this scenario, if I were to go back and I actually had it filled in, would be this field, EFP S3 key, right? So I'd have it be, and let me just do this. Comment this out for a second. It would be S3. Take out this. I don't think we need the record ID. And Manal, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but now we're going to be throwing in EFP S3 key instead. And then it would be would it be the field ID, Manal? Bucket name, field ID. Okay, it would be the field ID. So whatever that field ID number is for, let me go back. I'm not going to save it. Instead of 11, it would be 49. So S3, bucket name, 49, document template ID. Does that make sense? Yeah. Just looking at the chat. Can we upgrade to 6.0 before the wizard releases it? Yes, especially if you're on this call. If you'd like to, we can certainly help you guys get updated for that. Something I actually meant to show you guys, which bad on me, was the labels. So let me just go and show you guys the JuicedSign recipient tags table quick. I could actually go from here. Something you may notice is we've always had the field label. You know, now label is going to actually show you, show the recipient when they hover over it, the label of the recipient tag. So if you guys want to kind of give a title or sort of instructions for the tags, you guys can now do that with label. That's how that's going to work. And then what has kind of always worked, but once, you know, did have some limitations, is tab order. And I know that, you know, Annette specifically was looking for tab order. Tab order now should work to its fullest capacity. So if you want to have, let's say, a large document with several fields in a row, and you're having them fill it out in a specific order, where you need them to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when they're hitting tab on their computer, it's going to the right field. That will now work to its fullest. There was some minor, I'll call it, you know, imperfections to that. So now that should be perfected. So those are two things that have been enhanced in this latest version. So tab order and label. Besides that, you know, I may have mentioned before about with the signing order, with to make sure that their full name fills in. I think everything else in here has been pretty much discussed on previous calls. Yes, imperfections. Blemishes. But in the grand scheme of things, we're really happy and kudos to the development team for putting in a lot of hard work on this. It's awesome. There's a lot of great features that just came out. These are big updates as well. We know a lot of you guys have utilized our document generation tools and saving them to Amazon. So we wanted to make sure that we gave those options as well. So let's see here. If I hit refresh, we should be able to go back and see. I may have done something wrong. Definitely don't count that out, guys, because that's always a possibility. But we do have
That be another imperfection.
no, there's plenty of imperfections to me. Don't you worry about that. Oh, the JuicedSign signed document. I'm sorry, not an imperfection. I was right. Pause. It's there. download signed document, right? There's a separate key for it. So it saves back to that same record, right? You'd want that to be the same record. So in the document repository record, we have the view file. This really I should make into view download signed document. But now I can click to download that signed document right from that same repository record. You can see we have our initial there and then our signature as well as our agreement certificate. But that is essentially where, there's the full circle. You can see everything. What I should do, and I'll do that right now, is I actually should go into the field properties of this. And instead of, you should call this download signed document. You should show it as a button, make the button a nice color. We should do green. That's an interesting green. We'll do that green and we'll open it in a new window. So that's what we're going to do here, right? All right. That's a horrible green, actually. That's on my, but now it opens in a new tab. So that is great. And let's see. We got some stuff in the chat. One more question. Can we set up conditional required fields in JuicedSign? I don't believe so. Yeah, Keith already answered that. No, we can't. So that's a good question. No, we can definitely look into that. Creating JuicedSign agreement if the email is invalid, example type of okay. I got a request to show an invalid email. I can do that. Let's do this. Instead of .com, let's call it .col, and we'll do, actually, let's see, do it for this one, .col, and we'll just call this test, MWT at some random thing, right? Just an invalid email, really, right? No, not even a .com, just nothing there. So this is an invalid email. So the request was to show the screen that comes up when there's an invalid email. So when you hit send to JuicedSign, what should come up, and I believe this is something new as part of the features, is we actually say there's a validation failure to emails. So for those of you who don't know, if you send an invalid email or put an invalid email in, you will get an error. You will not be able to send the document. We do that on purpose. So if I did some random email, MWT at JuiceTech without .com, it's essentially going to come back that there's no records found at that domain and that this is an incorrect email. So you can just close that out. That's not going to count as an agreement. That's not a transaction. Hopefully that just helps your end users then realize a potential mistake and kind of go back in and quickly resolve that.
Hey Matt, there's a question. When you hit click preview, if it's invalid, does it tell you in preview mode? I just wasn't sure.
Good question. I'm not sure either. So let's go take a look.
Now, what do you think?
I bet it will.
Well, give it a shot.
Let's see. Preview. Yep.
Perfect.
Cool.
It does.
So,
I was talking, but my sorry.
from the clouds.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So that's a nice kind of feature. It's a better error message for you guys rather than not being able to see what went wrong. Now you guys can kind of see that. So I think that's a good addition as well. So thanks for pointing that out. And I'll just fix that really quick so I don't have any silly errors after. Cool.
Can you
Right,
can you show the labels, Matt? If you
I can. Yeah, why not? So let's do this. Let's hit send to JuicedSign. Let's put another one in. Let's actually do this. Rather than me sending one, let me make a new one. So we have a different repository record, right? Because now I want to kind of show you guys that latest repository. So here, new record. And if we hit refresh, now we have our second record, right? So we will have the latest repository record used. So when I hit send, really people. And when I hit send, right, let's go ahead and take a look. We'll agree to the terms and conditions, and we'll go down to our first label. Hopefully it's there. Now you can see enter signature there. That gray text above, that was not always there. So if you have a label, right, it used to just be click to sign. Now we actually show the text above.
so it's like a tooltip.
Yes.
Technically.
Yep. So, and I guess this is a call out for Manal or Rohit potentially if you're on. Is there a character limit to the tooltip? Probably should be.
No, I don't think there's a character limit.
Okay.
You can put
Let's-
anything, and they have been also they will wrap around. So if the character line is too long, they should wrap around in 2 lines or 3 lines to fit into the screen.
Right. Well, we'll set a character limit for that because we definitely don't want to have that be unlimited. But we'll pick a reasonable amount for you guys. So that's that. Again, if I hit click to sign now, again, we get that same kind of drawing screen. Maybe I want to draw my signature and save that on and finish. And now we have the congratulations screen. So that's good. That's quite a bit. We went over quite a bit in a short period of time here, folks. Does anyone have any further questions? I see Sean asked one about batch. Manal answered, it will write to the error field that you have specified in the parameters. That's a great response. Thank you. You might have heard the ding. I did get an email for another request. But with that said, also, those of you who may not know, this is from the last document. Both the sender and the recipient do indeed receive a copy of the agreement after it's been completed. So this is that last test I went through. So just keep that in mind. They do receive a copy of that. So if you were to go check that out after, you can also see, the signed copy. And that does not include the agreement certificate, by the way. I believe that's everything I have today. You guys have been awesome. I appreciate you guys coming in with relevant questions. For those of you guys watching in the future, if you have yet to install JuicedSign, please feel free to start a trial if you're not a client from juicedtech.com. If you are a client, please go into the Juice Cloud and start a trial there. Or if you just want to review it and have a demo with us, feel free to reach out to support@juicedtech.com, and myself or one of our colleagues will jump on a call with you and show you everything and how it can work for your individual use case. So for now, I think we're going to say so long. We will catch up with you guys on the next video, and I hope you guys all have a great day.